My name is Phil Hidiatnia. I'm the co-founder of a company called SolverIQ. And basically we're a platform that matches together really talented students with awesome jobs at fast-growing companies in the tech industry. The problem that we're fundamentally solving, I think, is that hiring itself isn't just hard, but it's really fundamentally broken, right? I mean, right now, when the average job applicant applies for a job, they have about a 1% chance of actually making it to the interview stage. And that's about 10 times lower than it was in 2000. And the reason for that is just because the number of applications that companies have received has just skyrocketed, because now all the job listings that are available are all on the internet. Anybody can see them, anybody can see what's open. What that's done is it's taken the first two phases of the normal job assessment process, the initial resume screen where we look at your experience, and the phone screen where we kind of try to understand your motivations. And that part has become so much more important. If a company was hiring for one role and they had 25 applications, they'd knock a couple off because they just didn't have the experience, and they'd knock a couple off because they didn't do very well in the phone screen, but then they'd interview a bunch of them. And because recruiters know that that's the best way to get these metrics, is sit down with the person, understand them, understand what makes them different. But when you have thousands of applications, you have to find any way possible to just scratch somebody off, just knock them off the pile. And increasingly what that means is, did you go to a really fancy college? Great, you're in. Did you not? You're out. Did you get a really cool job, getting that internship at Google while you were in college? Great, you're in. Did you not? You're out. And the problem is that these things don't really actually correlate with success in the workplace. What they correlate with are factors of privilege, of whether or not you came from a really rich family, of whether or not you were really well connected. And what we're trying to do is make that process much more holistic, so we can look at actually what you did and the skills that you showed. So to actually solve that problem, we sat down with cognitive scientists and behavioral psychologists. We really wanted to understand what are actually the things that lead to success in the workplace. And interestingly, especially when we look at early hiring, like student hiring, the fourth pillar about skills fit is actually the least relevant and the least important in the process, because students can build skills over time through practice. But the question of whether or not they'd even want to, right? Do they actually align with the company's mission? That sort of stuff determines whether or not they're going to be successful in learning those skills down the road. There are companies out there that we talked with that are spending, they're hiring an intern for the summer, and they are spending thousands of dollars to hire that intern role. I'd say the most important way where we benefit these companies is that instead of the guesswork-laden process that they have today, they get to really understand natively their applicants in a way that they could 15 years ago, but because of this increased volume, they really can't today. I think the interesting thing about growing up today is that that the hiring process is really, really screwed up from the second you walk into high school. I don't care if you go to a school that's wealthy or a school that isn't. If you have a lot of students interested in going to college at that school, and you ask them why they want to go to college, they're not going to answer you with, because I'm really interested in studying this. It's going to be because I want a job here. And the pressure is high on students from a very early age now to perform well, to chase that ranking, to chase the perfect college, and then once you get in, chase the perfect job. And now, increasingly, it's not even just chase the perfect job, it's chase the perfect set of your first jobs, because you're expected to have that really cool internship summer after freshman year to build on that over time, because you really want to get an offer once you graduate, and the offer you get has to be at a company with a good enough name brand so you can get the good second. And I'm just like, this entire system is incredibly broken. And when I moved out briefly to Silicon Valley, I started to realize just how insane this process was. And I would go and talk to companies back then and see that students would get out of college, go to work for a company for a year and a half, and immediately leave. And I'm like, why? Well, if you like the company, why not stay longer than that? And it's because no one liked the companies. They wanted to pick the available jobs based on salary or based on name brand. And I'm like, wow, so basically we're constantly in a perpetual cycle of college admission. The same way that in high school, we have to optimize ourselves and create a persona for ourselves and write out this giant plan so we can get into college. Now we get into college, and now we get to write out this plan to get our first job, and now we get our first job, and we get to write out this plan to get our second job, and at no point in this process are we ever asked the question, what do you actually want to do? It's not what you want to do or what you think you can do well, it's what puts you in the best position to gain the most prestige. And most people in this system lose. Very few people win. Very few people get to actually follow their ideal path, not end up in $1 million in debt, and find a job that they're actually happy with. It's just a really fundamentally broken thing. If colleges are at the end of the day selling a diploma, they're selling, this is an indicator that this person is better than another person, there isn't much of an incentive for, frankly, the experience to get better, because the competition is around factors of prestige and pedigree. It's not necessarily around the undergraduate experience. Rice does, I think, a really great job at granting students a lot of opportunities, but there's plenty of schools that I know that I don't actually think have a great undergraduate experience that just happen to have a really great prestige factor. But we think that by actually changing that calculus and by making it so that companies can evaluate people in more holistic ways and kind of evaluate them on the merits, that actually will reward schools and organizations and even new educational concepts like schools like Minerva schools at KGI or Olin that are entirely project-based. We want there to be a serious, even playing field so that it doesn't matter where you went to school or where you got your first job. What matters is what did you learn there and what are you capable of doing. I think we believe that this is a very core thing to how we live, is how we get hired. And the process today sucks, but the result of that is pretty detrimental. There's this sense of anxiety, I think, within my generation and those younger than me. We're all wondering whether or not we're ever going to have a life like what our parents did. And that's an interesting shift for our country. And I think that the way we can solve that problem, as big as that goal is by making it so that people find really meaningful work. When that isn't the case, when people can't find meaningful work, when they can't quickly transition to jobs, especially as automation is probably going to wipe out millions of jobs over the next few years, when people can't find those opportunities, they act in different ways. They are depressed, they're anxious, they're frustrated with their state of being. I think that the way that hiring works is going to change dramatically over the next few years, and we're making a bet at SolverIQ that the approach we have is better than what's on the market today. I want to see us have a solid presence in the market before those changes happen, not scrambling to get a market foothold later. I think this is the time for what we have to enter the market and to hopefully succeed. So we're currently in beta. So we've been matching students with a select group of companies that's in our pool right now. We're going to be continuing to do that through the summer as we continue to focus in on the engineering and just make sure that everything we've been doing right now scales very effectively. But at the end of the summer, we're going to be doing a much larger public launch with all of our university partners and all of our current company partners. So we're currently looking for more companies to join our test. We're looking for more students to join our test, although the wait list is pretty long, but we're definitely looking to partner with more clubs and organizations too. So in a little bit, we'll be ready to make that public push, but it's a nerve-wracking thing. So if you want to sign up for SolverIQ, it's pretty easy to do. You can just go to solveriq.com, click for companies or for students, and we've got a form there, and then we'll just invite you to join our waitlist, and we'll be pulling people off the waitlist in chunks as we enter the fall. To reach me directly, probably the easiest way is email. So my email address is philip@solverhq.com, and you can just send me an email there, and I check my inbox. So